Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack your sources to find those golden nuggets of insight. Today, we're diving into some material you've shared, specifically looking at that knotty topic of navigating difficult conversations, complex issues.
Yeah, and our mission really for this deep dive is to try and understand what makes these talks feel so, well, challenging,
Yeah.
sometimes almost impossible, right? And then we want to zero in on the strategies that are suggested in the material you send over.
Okay, and the sources, they pretty much hit us straight away with a great word of the day that sets the scene. Abstruse.
Abstruse. Yeah, it's a bit formal, but it just means something that's hard to understand, intricate, difficult to really get your head around. It captures that feeling perfectly, doesn't it? That sense that a topic is just too dense, maybe too complicated, just too abstruse to even start talking about.
Absolutely. And that leads right into the core question this material is asking.
Yeah.
What actually makes something feel too complicated to discuss? And maybe more importantly, why do we often just avoid it?
Well, the sources seem to break this down into a few key things. A really big one, maybe the most basic, is just the relationship you have with the person you're talking to.
Right. How close you are. That matters hugely. Yeah. Is it someone you really trust, or is the connection maybe a bit more fragile?
Exactly. The material suggests that, how close you are dictates how deep you can go, how vulnerable, or even how direct you can be. Without that foundation, that trust or shared understanding, even a difficult topic that seems straightforward can get way more complicated.
And then there's the sensitivity, the actual topic itself. Some things are just inherently loaded, layered with emotion or history.
For sure. And approaching those, that takes a totally different kind of care compared to, talking about the weather. The sources really stress that just recognizing that sensitivity is step one. It helps you not make it harder right off the bat.
Here's something else interesting they bring up. Understanding what you actually want from the conversation, the desired outcome. Sometimes you bring up something tough, not because you need answers, but just you need someone to listen.
That's such a crucial difference. Are you looking for advice? Or just like validation, a listening ear? The sources hint that when there's a mismatch there, one person offering solutions when the other just wants empathy, that creates this huge, often unspoken tension. It makes the whole thing feel harder.
It's like using the wrong tool for the job, isn't it? And underneath all this, the sources keep coming back to trust.
Yeah, trust is presented as, well, essential, not just nice to have. The material literally says you have to be willing to take chances on people you confide in. Opening up like that, it takes a leap of faith, hoping they'll handle it carefully.
Which brings us to managing expectations. The sources are pretty down to earth here. They say, look, the person you confide in, they might not say the perfect thing.
They might not have the ideal reaction or the best advice. And the insight there is sometimes, if their intention is good, maybe an imperfect response is, okay, it's good enough. The material suggests trying to force that perfect reaction or sort of ruffling more feathers by over-explaining can just add complexity you don't need. It's about balancing what you need with what someone can genuinely give.
Speaking of simple versus complex, this ties in really well with a quote of the day from the sources. The most complicated skill is to be simple. That's from Dusan Stojanovic.
Oh, that's a brilliant quote. It really nails the challenge here, doesn't it? Clarifying your own thoughts, simplifying what you need, setting clear expectations instead of just hoping they guess. That is a complicated skill, especially when things are emotional or the topic feels sensitive.
Yeah, and the sources connect us directly to that tension when we expect people to be mind readers. If you can't simply say what you need or why something's hard for you, you're kind of asking them to navigate a maze blindfolded.
Exactly. Whereas the material suggests, care and consistent communication. Even if it's not perfect communication, those are the tools. They can help meet needs, maybe bring people closer, chip away at that abstruseness.
But the sources are also really realistic, which is refreshing. They admit there's risk involved here. Sometimes, even with the best intentions, confiding can just backfire.
Right. And they use this really strong image for that, describing the result as a tangled yarn mess. Something you might just have to cut with a scissor. It's that feeling when things get so knotted up, messier than before you even started talking.
Wow, that image really sticks. It admits that not every hard conversation ends neatly. Not in the short term, anyway.
It does. But, and this is crucial, the material gives us that long-term view. It reminds us that growing from mistakes, even from those bad outcomes, is actually really valuable. That tangled mess, once you cut it and think about it, that builds character. It helps you grow over time.
Okay, so we've sort of unpacked why these difficult conversations can feel so abstruse. It's this mix, isn't it? the relationship, sensitivity, expectations, the need for trust, and that difficulty in just being simple and clear.
Yeah, and we've seen that tension, the ideal of simplicity as a skill versus the real possibility of it all turning into that tangled yarn mess.
But importantly, the sources leave us with that reminder. Even the backfires, those times you feel like you have to cut the yarn, they can offer unexpected growth later on.
So, thinking of that potential backfire, that tangled yarn, and the idea that even cutting it can lead to growth. What does accepting that possibility that a conversation might go poorly and you might need to cut the yarn, what does that change about how you might approach a difficult topic that you're facing right now?
Thank you for bringing these really insightful sources to our deep dive today.